Hi guys, this is Tony here from Metal Roos. You're about to sit down and enjoy an interview I just did um, over there, and so do like and subscribe so you can get all this straight into your streaming and into your consciousness as soon as it arrives. So enjoy the interview, and I will. Over to you, Tony. So, welcome to Australia. We're going to be here for the very last time, coming very soon, I believe.
Yes, looking forward to it with all original members. It's going to be great.
Yeah, yeah. And when was the last time that that happened? Do you
That's
reckon?
never happened.
No,
We
see,
played we played there in 14 with it was John Roth was there, but not Paul Taylor.
yeah, they're all
We
busy.
were
They've all got things to do, I'm sure. Let's say.
we were working with it was Rat Winger in 2014, but we've been touring extensively for the last 5 years. Well, not with COVID, but
Hmm.
even longer than that, like 8 years, we've been going at it pretty hard.
So this is the last time that you're going to be playing this country, which is sad, of course, but wonderful because you're going to be sure bringing all your fantastic energy and hits to the
Yeah.
stages here, which will be we a bonus, a sad and a happy time, right? Good to see you. Sad it'll be the last, but um, it is. Everyone has to do what they do, and I'm sure you're going to absolutely destroy the stages here, though, because it's got some good. You're here um, five for 5 dates, which is pretty good. Sydney all the way through to Perth, which is
Yeah. Well,
uh,
I was pretty insistent on playing Perth because nobody ever goes there, and I always
thank
hear
you.
from people.
Yeah, and
I've been
that
hearing.
yeah, and that's it. And I've been saying this recently because a few bands have come in through and they're playing Perth, and it's just really good because it is nowhere. I mean, love the city, but it is the middle of nowhere, and
Yeah.
and they do deserve. You have fans there, and they do deserve to see you. And I think that they are a special audience. I've always thought Perth are a special audience for that.
Ironically, ticket sales in Perth are the lowest right now.
Oh,
So everybody in Perth, go out and buy a ticket because
oh
we're coming
yeah,
there,
yeah.
and we're coming there for you.
Yeah, please do, honestly. And I said that say this is quite interesting because as I said it's the most remote city, most capital city, state city in the world, and you need they need people to come. So if they're
Yeah.
gonna come, if you're gonna come and make that effort, people watching this have to make an effort to go and buy a ticket, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're not gonna do it again.
I'm gonna shame them into it.
You should, and so you should, keep it.
No,
Absolutely.
I did an acoustic tour a couple of years ago there, and I did go to Perth. So this will be the second time I've been there in the last few years, and they were great. It was a great audience. I really had a good time.
Yeah, beautiful city. And I said again, the people there are very appreciative of when you do get them in the audience. But then again, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, all good.
I'm just going back for my photo op of me and Bon Scott statue.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one. That's the reason I want to go to LA, not, where it is, where Lemmy's seat is. Like, I just want to go and
There you
sit on his stool, right?
go. That's funny.
But so are you gonna? Obviously, you've got 7 albums to play with in this set list. So it'll be interesting to see how you can get all those years into one short period of time. It's going to be a fun learning thing, you know?
It's an interesting point. I mean, we have a lot of well-known songs, so I have to. I'm not the kind of band that goes, "Hey, let's play everything off our new album and screw the hits." I like to
Hmm.
play the hits.
Good.
So we've got a lot of those. We've got all the hits, and then I try to pick a few deep cuts from the other records. Um, and it's not an easy choice because a lot of them were specifically studio
Yeah.
production that can't really be done live. But there are, well, like we do "Pull Me Under" from
Hmm.
Karma, "Midnight Driver of a Love Machine" from Better Days Coming, and
Yeah.
"Stick the Knife In and Twist" from the new record. So it'll be a trying to think of something off of Winger 4 that we could do, but everything else will get covered.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, everyone sees 17, don't they? And all those sort of things. They're the hits that they were because they were big over here. I mean, your stuff in the 80s and early 90s, massive over here. I mean, I grew up in the UK, so all my memory of you is mainly being when I was a teenager in London. Um, but like the audiences here, they love that kind of sound that you guys make, that kind of hard rock, that kind of like the AC/DC kind of concept, that just
Yeah,
balls to the wall, have some fun,
yeah,
and this like fuck the world. Let's pardon my French. This just
yeah,
enjoy for 2 hours, ignore what's going on out there, and just have a good time. And I think that's what your music is for people. It's
yeah.
it's a good time. There are obviously deep meanings to lots of songs, but people want good time when they listen to your music. I know I do.
Yeah, I think, well, live it's really cool, and I think people, not everyone knows that under the hood, our songs are technically very difficult.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
17's a great example. Like if you take the vocal away from 17 and just listen to the music, it's really difficult to play it, and especially play and sing it. But just, some of the riffs are real intricate, so it's fun for I think the audience will appreciate that. It's original members, that's a huge
Mhm.
deal. And that some people that may not know might be surprised by the musicianship. I'm not talking about myself necessarily. I'm talking about especially Rod Morgenstein
Mhm.
and Red Peach, um, and John and Paul. I mean, we really we pride ourselves on being good musicians because that's kind of where we came from in the 70s. We were into a lot of the bands, like the more of the prog rock bands and
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
That's my roots. Yeah. Yep.
me too. Me too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you're right. There's something I think that it's sad that you are, leaving the live scene because in some respects because we sort of in this day and age, music is it's so easily consumed, it's so easily made, and I mean that in the nicest way. Like you can get a computer out, bloody bloody blob, and with little to no knowledge, you can put out a record, which people do. Yeah, good on them, fine. But
True.
but there's something about an intricately made track, like let's say 17 again, right? That sort of
Yeah.
song probably would never be made now.
Yeah.
It probably would never be made now because you have to put a lot of effort in to make that song. That's a lot of work.
I
So
appreciate
yeah,
you saying that.
it is
Yeah.
true that it's a lot of work. It's layered. It's a big sound. I think people now, if they just well, I'm sure there's people out there that will still make it, but the audiences sadly aren't educated enough to enjoy something like 17 anymore.
I mean, to really zero in on what you're saying is that nowadays you can use machines to
Mm,
achieve the same kind of sound. I
mm,
think intricate rock albums are still getting made, but the way that you can do them now with digitized, like Pro Tools, for example, or
mm.
any digital audio workstation, you can cut and paste and edit the shit out of it all, and you can achieve the same result, but it's not coming from the place of where it was when, especially when we made those early records. That
Oh
was
yeah.
totally organic, and there was no auto tuning available, and you really had to play and sing that shit, or you basically don't even show up.
Well, that's right, I said before, the audiences had not like talk about prog, for instance, right? I grew up in a family with lots of brothers, and all the different types of tastes of music, and one was really into prog, and I'd sit there listening to Yes and Genesis and all that sort of stuff
Exactly.
with my brother, and you sort of you had to have a sort of knowledge of music. It was something to listen to it. You sort of learned to be more understanding of how music's created. And I think the more modern stuff now is it's just it, it goes over.
Yeah,
They don't take it in like
yeah.
you and I would have done, and our generations or older would have done, of taking the music in like it was now it's like, oh, passing, I'll just skip, walk past, skip, skip. Like
Well,
it's
I mean, listen, the internet has obliterated the attention span of
oh
of of everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
and myself included.
I was having this exact conversation this evening with my son-in-law about the same thing, and I just think that music like yours, though, KP, is what it's about. Genuinely, it's what it's about. It's like, you know, filthy rock and roll. You know what I mean when I say that. I don't mean, you know, just down and dirty, good old
Yeah,
classic rock and roll, right?
yeah,
And
organic stuff.
at its core, it's rock and roll.
Yeah, like organic '70s shit. I mean, that's where we were coming from.
Yeah, man, and you can hear it, and it's also you have this
This is
blues
like
to you.
this is like come see Winger in Australia. The dinosaurs that are
No,
getting
I
the
don't mean that. I
'70s.
don't mean that. I
No,
don't mean
I'm saying that.
that.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got the blues in your music, which is another thing that is that draws a lot of us too, because the roots are very there's a very like you said 70s sounding roots in there that
Yeah.
come through, and we have to. I mean, we go on about it, but that was a great decade for music, and so it's
Oh,
good that
absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, listen, the best rock albums were made there.
we go back to those days a lot more often now these days than ever because we want to get that sound again. There's that rock and roll sound. But then also you were modern as well, KP. You certainly weren't just dinosaurs. I mean, you weren't just looking back at the past. The stuff you were making was also forward thinking.
Oh yeah,
You
no,
yeah.
I was only I'm only joking. I mean, I've approached every single album from the very beginning exactly the same way, regardless of the technology that I have at
Mm,
my fingertips now. It's just me and Reb sitting there with a back in the day when computers just I'm lucky to have gone through the whole transition. Well, take a guy like McCartney. He was
yeah.
there from the very beginning of technology all the way through. I came in 15 years after they did. With by the time I hit it, they had like crappy little drum machines that you could crank up a beat and write to. And so Reb and I would sit in a room together and knock about ideas to like some cheesy little beat and whatever, and then take them into the studio. But it was all very organic.
Mm.
And now, like the last album we made it in. I record in Pro Tools for rock stuff,
Mm.
and even though I have all that technology at my fingertips, I still use the cheesy drum machine. I still knock out the riffs, and I just do that way. And then we bring the drums in and do all that stuff very organically, and the process has never changed for me.
And I think that's probably why all your albums have that solid feel to them.
Yeah,
All the way through all seven of them,
yeah.
there's a solid feel through the whole catalog, and
Thanks for noticing.
yeah, it's fantastic. I've always loved always loved your band, mate. So it's okay. Um, what's it like? I mean, I've got to ask this question because this will be the last time we see you here. What was it like getting back on stage with all the guys again? It must have been a real buzz to be all back again.
Yeah, well, that actually happened quite a long time ago. We were out of commission during the whole grunge era,
Yeah.
and then in 2002 we got asked to do the Poison tour, and I called Rod and said, "Listen, I'll do it, but I want every original guy in the band, including John." And that was the first time we became a five piece. Because
Ah,
up until the first two albums, we were a four piece with Paul,
yep.
and then after that, we were a four piece with John. And I was kind of like, I want all those guys in the band, and I think because I thought that would be the best incarnation of the band, and it definitely was. And then after that, we went back to four piece with John, and then Paul came back in the last 10 years, kind of doing a gig here and there, and then finally it was like, hey man, just stay. And so we've been playing together in the original configuration for about the last 8 years.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
fantastic. I mean,
yeah,
all bands, as you know, are organic and they change. People come, people go,
yeah.
and you all have your favorite incantation of that, of that band, for instance, like
Yeah.
this album or that lineup or this lineup. But it's just nice that you can have all of them and not have to choose. You can just say, let's.
Listen, when I was a kid, it bummed me out when there was somebody that wasn't original there, especially the singer. You
Oh,
see
yes.
a lot of bands where it's like, oh well, we've replaced everybody, but there's like two original guys in a six-piece band, and it's like it's okay to see those guys like you. Well, Uriah Heep's a great example.
Mm,
Mick Box. I think Mick Box is the only original member
yeah.
now.
Yep.
Um, Now the singer actually died, so that's not fair. And I revere Mick Box. He's one of my favorite guys. I mean,
Oh,
incredible. But it would be so cool to see the original lineup. I mean, um, so that's you can hand it to you too because they're still out there playing with the original
I
guys.
know.
I mean,
Yep. Yep.
um, Tesla has mostly they got rid of their drummer, but it's for me it's an important thing to try to keep that together. I always Skid Row's a great example where
Mm.
they could just get back together with Sebastian. They would
Oh,
just go out and just kill it.
yeah. Yeah. It's like with, I'm a huge Thin Lizzy fan, and you go and you see they're doing the circuit, and there's just literally one of them in now. Like,
Yeah.
what? It's not
Oh,
Thin
but
Lizzy without like Phil Lynott. Like he just has to park it,
park it.
right? Park
Yeah.
it.
Park. I totally agree.
Yeah. So it's
Totally.
really nice. So it's for us as an audience, it's great that we can see you all together. It's where it's
Yeah.
coming from. It means a lot, particularly as I said, they're going to do a nice sort of selection of different eras, different albums, different, of course, the hit singles, Heartbreak, and all
Yeah.
that. You're going to do all that,
Yeah.
which
And
is
I've long said that I won't do Winger without Reb and Rod for sure.
mm,
I prefer to do it with the other guy. Like sometimes, well, now it's been all of us for the last 2 years nonstop, but and we're not going to carry on. But had this been a case where I could have carried on with a new drummer, a new guitar player, I simply wouldn't have done it.
mm. No, and I think that it's in because your catalog is tight and really good, great. I think that the fact that you can all go out there, the people that made this music, not someone who comes into the band 10 years later and says, "Oh yeah, I've learned to play it." You guys made this music, so when you get
Now
on the
that's the thing.
stage, yeah.
Listen, listen, especially to the Australian fans, you're going to get a chance to see all original guys. So when Reb blows it, when he breaks into the solo on "Headed for Heartbreak,"
Oh,
he's the guy. He's the one who wrote it. He's the one who plays it. And trust me, I stand behind him every single night when we play that song, and I still get goosebumps from that guy.
yes, and that's what it's about, KP, isn't
Right?
it? It's about that experience, and
Yeah.
what it would be great. It would be great to see is if people bring their kids along. Yeah, like bring their teenagers on, and give them an experience of, and I mean this, watchers and listeners to this, genuine rock and roll, good, old-fashioned, well-made live experience.
Well, we do see a lot of people bringing their kid. We get a lot of young people in the audience, man. We do,
Yeah,
and they're saying every word. Um,
and
I
that's
mean,
wonderful.
we played Japan 2 years ago, and it was I mean, 60% of the audience was under 35.
Wow,
Yeah,
how great is that? I mean,
yeah, it's
that's
great.
just yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the music. It's not only experienced like this resurgence, but it's very, it's popular stuff.
well, it's
I mean,
timeless, KP. It's
the
timeless.
whole genre.
Yeah, it's timeless because it's rock. It's like you if you put on an AC/DC track, you don't go, "Oh, that was made in '70, whatever." You just go, "This is wow, this is great," and it's the
Well,
same way as when you
especially then.
yeah, and then when you put your stuff on, it's the same thing. You don't go, "Oh, this sounds. When was this made?" You just go, "This is just good music."
Yeah, well, thank you.
And no, but it's true. Music should be timeless, and it should be. You shouldn't have to worry about where you are in time when you listen to it. And I think that your stuff is just, as I said, it's just rock and roll, and it's great, and it's energy, which is what we all want, as particularly
Yeah.
as people who watch the band and people's band who are playing. Energy is the exchange, isn't it? It's what we exchange with each
Funny.
other.
As you're speaking, I'm like, what's the set list going to be?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm, I've been talking to those guys about it a little bit, and I gotta pre-warn them so they can learn it. Fortunately, we're good enough to where if I throw in a tune, they can learn it pretty fast.
I would imagine with their kind of experience, all of you. I
Yeah,
mean, you've all had very experienced musical careers. I can't imagine that it would be like, oh no, he's chucked this one in. I don't know. What do I do? I'm sure
yeah.
they'd be
No, yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, some of it's impossible to sing, so those won't be getting
Well,
played.
well, yes, that can be the problem.
We have
Yeah.
that new single on our latest record, Tears of Blood. Impossible to sing it. Absolutely impossible. No singer on the planet could sing that live. I specifically, it was a melody that I just heard and I was singing it, singing it, singing it. But then it takes so much breath to sing. I mean, there's no way you can maintain that without taking a breath. And if you listen to the record, there's no breath in the chorus. I just punched
Yeah.
myself in. But it was in service of the song, to make
Yeah.
it what it could be. But
You never know what you never know. You never know, right? I mean, I saw Iron Maiden very recently, and I never thought that Bruce could hold that note from Alexander the Great, and he did. Like it was a 11-second note, and I was counting it on my watch. I
wow,
was like, this guy's what? So I mean, you never know, right?
wow,
You never know. You never know.
wow.
I know
I'd like to see
it
that.
blew my mind. I wasn't expecting it because
Yeah. They,
I'd never
the,
he never
there's
played
some
it live. So.
Yeah, there's some longevity there, man.
Oh man,
Jeez,
that 50 years. That's just crazy. But
crazy.
then again, that's because they're driven like with people like yourself, like Steve Harris and yourself. You've got drive. You know where it's going. You
Yeah,
have a vision, and you take it on that journey through that down that road. That's
yeah,
where it happens. It's not the piecemeal of what do we do now? Do we go here? Do we do? You have vision, and you take it that
yeah,
way. and
yeah,
and that's why your band and bands like Maiden and bands like Judas Priest and all those kind of bands have longevity. It's because they go, I know where I want to be. This is
yeah,
my I've mapped my future. This is what I want to do.
yeah. Well, I wish we were that big, but the mentality's the same.
It was, I mean, it is right, and there are bands out there that that could have been unbelievable, but they just couldn't focus. They couldn't
Yeah,
focus.
yeah. Interesting point. Yeah, I
Mm.
never thought about that actually. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen, I've seen in my life many, and you go, wow, why aren't they? Why isn't there 90, like having 19 albums out? And suddenly you realize that they all just couldn't get on with each other, or they weren't focused in the music they wanted. They didn't work out where they wanted to go. They had no core
Yeah.
drive, and you go,
Well,
oh,
with this band, I've always been it's been my vision I mean, not to try to take credit for my band. I don't mean it like that because
mm,
the the whole is greater than the sum of the part, or how
mm,
do you say that? The
yeah,
sum of the parts.
yeah,
But but from a point of view of songwriting, that's been my thing.
yeah,
And kind of knowing how to shape the sound of the band. Now, having said that, the sound of the band is quite literally Reb's guitar playing and my voice. That's
yes,
the that's the core of it. So one can't exist without the other to create that sound, and then plugging in Rod's drums and everybody else in the mix. But um, when I would think of an idea for a song, the arrangements of the songs is kind of what you're talking about.
yeah,
It's holding that steady thing. Having said that, I mean, Reb's riffs are really key to the sound of the band. So that's why Reb
yes.
and I have made a great team over the years. We've just been really lucky with really exceptional chemistry when we're writing
It's
songs.
wonderful because when you hear his riff, you know it's him. Like
Yeah,
he has a real DNA. Like his key, his approach to the instrument, it
yeah,
has his real DNA in it.
yeah, and that's very rare. That's very rare to hear a musician within a few notes and you know who it is.
Yeah,
That's a real,
exactly. I mean, I could do that with only a couple. like Eric Clapton is one that I can come to mind straight away. I can sort of get it. Gary Moore, I get it.
Oh,
Um,
Gary,
oh yeah,
amazing.
oh man, one of my heroes. One of those things that I never saw him live, and it's one of those sad things that I
Yeah,
I had the opportunity to, Kate. I did, and did I go and do it? No. And then he
yeah,
died. It's like because I grew up being a huge Lizzie fan, so like I came into him from there.
yeah.
But yeah, as I said, yeah, Reb, wonderful, such a new, sort of such a unique sound, and like you said, clicking with you is it's just a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
You know,
we were really lucky, man. And we can still, right up until the last record. I mean, we still the chemistry. It'll always be there. Him and I could always sit down and write something.
wonderful, and isn't that great? Even though one thing might go, another thing might grow, right? But who knows in life, yeah. So
Not I guess that's the way life is.
that's the way life is, right? But anyway, thanks for coming on. I hope you enjoy the tour. I will be there in Sydney. I hope that it goes well and you get some time to see the country. I
Yeah,
know
I
it's a bit
love.
of a whirlwind trip, but I'm sure you'll get some time to see
Yeah, I
some of
think
it.
we'll get the time. Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time, man. Thanks for having me.
No, I loved it. When someone said you want to check, I was like, yeah, bloody hell, yes. I've attacked him. It's like,
Oh,
it's like
well,
it's just one of those. Always been one of those bands that's been on my rotation,
wow. Thank you.
and one of those bands that has always been there, man. KP. I mean, that sounds corny and old fashioned, but it's always been there, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to know that that you still get on all as friends and you can make great
Oh,
music
yeah, yeah.
live. And it's just a real warm, wonderful feeling that can be the case. And I'm sure it will come out
Oh, yeah,
across
yeah.
the
No, no, we have a
audience.
great time together. It's absolutely, it's really a great camaraderie. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys, and hope come back and say hi when you're in Sydney.
I will do. And Perth, buy those tickets.
Earth, get out and buy the
Buy the
tickets.
tickets.
All
Well, it's
right, man. Thanks
nice
very
chatting to you,
much.
man. No worries. Enjoy Japan.
Thank you.
I love that country, and hope safe. Well, I was going to say safe flight, but it's not very far from there to here, so you'll be all
Yeah,
right.
we'll be there. We'll be there soon. Thank you
Very
very much.
soon. See you, mate.